For much of autumn 1941, Stalin's armies reeled under the German onslaught. But all the while, he had another worry, that the Japanese would attack his forces in Siberia. But in November, the Soviet dictator received a message from his top spy in Japan, assuring him the Japanese had no such intention. Immediately, more than 30 divisions began moving west along the Trans-Siberian Railway to Moscow. They were well equipped and well trained in winter fighting. By early December, more than 500,000 extra men were in position near the capital. On December the 5th, just as the Germans were abandoning their attempt to capture Moscow, they were hit by a savage Russian attack. First came a massive Soviet artillery barrage. Then swarms of Soviet T-34s crashed through the German defenses. Stunned by the savagery of the attack by an enemy they had assumed was on the ropes, the Germans fell back. For the next 7 days, the Soviet troops tore into the German forces. For Hitler, who had only reluctantly agreed to halt the attack on Moscow, it was a terrible blow. On December the 19th, he sacked his overall commander-in-chief, Field Marshal Walter von Brauchitsch, and assumed command himself. Heinz Guderian was also sacked, along with 35 other senior officers. Hitler now ordered that there would be no more retreats. The German troops should fight, and if necessary, die where they stood. It worked. The German line gradually steadied. But Stalin, elated by the Red Army's success, now demanded a massive advance across the whole front. Marshal Zhukov, one of Stalin's most trusted commanders, tried to dissuade him, but Stalin was determined. For the next 4 months, fighting swirled inconclusively around German defensive positions. For Hitler, this was a very uncomfortable situation. He was used to and expected quick results. Now he was dangerously bogged down in the Soviet Union and facing an enemy that never seemed to give up. Nor was Russia his only headache. On December the 7th, 1941, Germany's ally Japan attacked the United States without warning. Hitler, with almost no thought, also declared war on the US. With no advanced planning, he had taken on a massive new enemy. As 1941 became 1942, Hitler remained determined to go on the offensive again in Russia. But he needed a new strategy. The original plan of fighting across the whole front was no longer tenable. Moreover, as his economic advisors told him, Germany's oil supplies were running low. So he decided to halt the attacks in the north and instead head for Russia's oil fields in the south. The initial plan for Operation Blue, as it was called, envisaged an assault south of Kharkov, with Army Group A swinging down to seize the oil fields, while Army Group B covered its flank along the River Don. Straight away there was a brutal encounter with Soviet forces trying to retake Kharkov. Another 200,000 Soviet troops were captured. 70,000 were killed. As part of the same operation, the Germans tightened their siege of the port of Sebastopol in the Crimea. For 8 months, the defenders had been under constant bombardment from German artillery, including a massive 400mm railway gun. In late June 1942, Sebastopol finally fell to the Germans. It was now safe to head for the oil fields. On June the 28th, the offensive began. Army Group B forced its way through to the River Don and advanced along its western bank. Army Group A faced stronger resistance. But by July the 9th, it was close to Rostov. Hitler now made a series of what would turn out to be serious strategic blunders. As Army Group B made its way along the Don, the Führer ordered it to capture Stalingrad, even though the city had no immediate strategic significance. The army had suddenly been given a massive new task. 2 weeks later, Hitler compounded his misjudgment. Frustrated by the slow progress of the campaign in the Caucasus, he diverted the bulk of his panzers down to the mountains. The march on Stalingrad slowed noticeably. The reinforced Army Group A now raced across the Caucasus to within 70 miles of the Caspian, threatening to cut off all the Soviet armies in the area. But then Hitler changed his mind again. Enraged by Army Group B's slow progress to Stalingrad, he now ordered the panzers back up north. On August the 9th, Army Group A seized the first of the southern oil fields at Maikop. It found them comprehensively trashed. But without reinforcements, it could get no further, and the huge oil fields in the central Caucasus and those near the Caspian Sea remained beyond its grasp. But by now, Hitler's attention had shifted again. In late August, German forces were within striking distance of Stalingrad. The assault on the city, which bore the name of Hitler's arch-enemy, had begun. It would be one of the most crucial battles of World War II.